Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Please subscribe if you haven't yet already. It's a red button beneath me somewhere, and if you click on that you'll be subscribed. There's also a white bell next to that, and if you click on that you'll get an alert every time I upload new content. And if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button. That would make me very happy. This is my second attempt to use some of the colors and the steps and things like that for inspiration in the Rae Morris Makeup Masterclass book. This is Emerald Enchantress. I'll insert a picture of her here. She looks a lot like Cindy Crawford. I do not look like Cindy Crawford. And also too, and you'll see in the video that if I were to do this again, I would start with a lighter color than what I did start with, because it just ended up being darker than I was kind of shooting for. But I like this, and I like that I am doing something different than what I normally would do, which is the whole point of this exercise. So if you'd like to see how I worked my way through this and take a second step into the Rae Morris Makeup Masterclass book, please keep watching. All right, so the first step is to prep the skin and eyelids, which I've already done with moisturizer and serums and whatnots. I also put some of my MAC Painterly Paint Pot on my lids to prime them. And then I'm going to go in with a dark matte green eyeshadow on the eyelids just underneath the brow bone. So I'm going to go in with Makeup Geek Enchanted Forest. And I'm going in with a Smith 256 brush. I'm using this because it has a little point on the top and I want to be able to control it if I possibly can because it's so dark. Okay. So I'm going to go in. Also with this, I think all the looks that I've looked at so far, the foundation goes on second, which is great. That's the way I like to do it. So I'm just going to be very gentle with this because it is very dark. And I think I've really ever only used this as a crease color before, if I've wanted like a green color in my crease. It's a pretty color. Something else. She has a section in here about color and color theory, which color is supposed to be the most complementary on which color eye. This model has a brown eye, and her coloring is actually probably similar to mine. I think I'm paler than I actually am. But her eyes are definitely a warm brown, not a dark brown, not a gray. And one of the things that Rae Morris points out in her color section is that blues are really flattering on brown eyes, but not really greens, which is interesting because I've kind of always gravitated towards both greens and blues. And I will continue to do makeup from this book, even if the model doesn't look like me, just to practice things. But I do think it's interesting that her color theory section mentions that recommended colors for brown eyes are kind of blues for the most punch of a color, and not greens. I quite like green on my eye, and I quite like green on, I just like color. Who am I kidding? But I definitely gravitate more towards greens and blues than I do towards like purples and pinks. So I'm just blending this up. This is a nice shadow. I'm getting a little bit of skipping up there, but I'm just gonna keep blending this in. And then it's interesting too because this look doesn't have a crease color. I'll show you the picture of the second picture when I get to that, because I'm not seeing, there's nothing in her crease. And I guess this is a dark color, and if you weren't careful this would really crease up in your crease. All right, I'll let that be. Then using a lash brush, like a pointed brush, use the same shadow underneath your eye and make it as thin a line as possible. I'm gonna go in with a Real Techniques Define brush, and I am going to use some Fix Plus. There's nothing in here about using any kind of fixing spray or setting spray, but because I'm using this as a liner, that's just what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go under each of these eyes to apply the same shadow in as straight a line as possible. And again, if you watched my last video, didn't have much of an issue because I didn't use as intense a concealer as I typically do, and today I'll use the same as I used last time. I'll use the Glossier Stretch Concealer. But it's interesting to me to apply something underneath your eye before putting on concealer. And maybe the next time I do this, I'll apply my real concealer, which is not my real concealer, they're all real concealers, but my typical concealer, which generally is Tarte Shape Tape. So that's done. Next step, it says to take a slightly lighter green eyeshadow and use it to blend the dark green shadow up to slightly above the eyebrow bone. And Vina, this model, has beautiful strong eyebrow bones. By darkening them slightly, it will have an effect of pushing them back. This is a great technique to reduce fuller puffy eyelids. So I'm gonna use my Vera Mona color switch, and I'm not sure if this is light enough, so I started with Enchanted Forest, and then I'm looking at Dirty Martini, which here looks dark enough, or light enough, I guess. I want something lighter. But if it isn't light enough, I have something lighter on hand. So, they aren't saying to use a matte eyeshadow, but I'm assuming that's what it is. So, this just doesn't look light enough, but I'm gonna see. So this I'm just putting, it looks like blend the dark green eyeshadow to up slightly above the eyebrow bone. I'm not sure what's happening here. My eyeshadow is a lot darker than hers is, and I certainly started with a dark eyeshadow. And here's what I'm gonna do. See if I can save this. Not that it needs saving, but I'm gonna go in with the Real Techniques blending brush. I'm just gonna blend this. It feels harsh to me. So that's the first thing. I'm gonna blend this a little bit, and then color switch in the same brush. I'm gonna use Fuji, which is considerably lighter and a tiny bit shimmery. And I'm gonna use this just at the top because it just seems like it's too dark. And again, not that I'm exactly trying to replicate 100% what's happening here, but I don't want to end up looking too strange. And that lightened it up a little bit. A little more blending with the same brush, and I'm not gonna clean it. Just gonna go in and do that. And then what I'm gonna do with the same brush, and this is not in here at all, but because I just feel like I went in too dark with the Enchanted Forest, that initial color on my lid itself. Same brush, the Smith brush, and I'm not gonna clean it off. And I'm gonna go in with Venom, which is a little shimmery and also kind of lighter. Not kind of lighter, it is lighter. And I don't want much on here, just a little bit right in the middle. And I think I went in with too dark, that was just too dark a shadow. And going in with a lighter matte shadow, I don't think would have shifted it enough for me, and I don't know if this is true in the world or just true for me, but I feel like it's easier to brighten something up if you're putting like a frost or a metallic or a shimmer on top of a matte than putting more mattes on top of other mattes. Then same liner, same color as the one that we used on top. So what I'm gonna do then, because I'm gonna line my lower, blend under my eye, I'm gonna take Venom, the shimmery one that I just used, and blend that on my lower lash line. Or not my lower lash line, but under my eye. Because yeah, I just think that initial color was too dark. I am trying so hard to not do a cat eye. It's just, my hands don't know how to not do that. Okay, I don't look like the model. I'll do a little bit more with this, but reminding myself that was never the goal. The goal is to just try things that I haven't tried before. I'm gonna go in with this just general ColourPop blending brush just to blend this a little bit, make it a little bit less harsh. Okay, then I'm applying foundation, and Rae Morris is very specific about applying foundation with a brush, with a foundation brush and not with a sponge. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use my Estee Lauder Doublewear in Ecru, and I'm using a Sigma F82 brush. The only foundation brush that I generally use is, I use the Hourglass brush when I'm using the Hourglass foundation, but I don't generally use that. Sometimes I use that with the Estee Lauder, but I don't really use foundation brushes anymore. I generally only use sponges. So I'll blend this. I'll speed you through it. Right, that's done. Nothing in there about concealer because this model is young and perfect. So I'm going to use some of my Glossier stretch concealer in light, just under my eyes a little bit. And I do have a little friend over here. I'll put a little bit on there. But it's kind of going away, which is nice. So yeah, so I think that when I use my Tarte Shape Tape, I end up doing a lot more blending, but this is actually staying in place, and I'm making an effort to get up as high as I want to under my eye, and it's not moving that under eye shadow around, which is nice. Then we are curling our lashes and applying top mascara, not bottom mascara. Interesting. That was just Benefit Roller Lash. Then, this is specifically saying to go in with a brow powder. And there is a sidebar that talks about only filling in gaps with a pencil or a brow powder. Don't draw in the whole brow as it can look harsh. Unless you want to look a little bit harsh. Sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to go in with my Anastasia brow powder, the Chocolate Duo. Sometimes the light side's too light and the dark side's too dark, so I'm just going to grab it right in the middle with a clean Real Techniques, the definer brush, the angle definer brush. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing in and kind of rubbing. Pressing in, not rubbing, but pressing and wiggling is what I'm doing. And I'm sure that this is way harsher than I should be doing. But again, there's no shoulds. It's just makeup. And this is warmer than I remember. The color is warmer. It looks almost red in the mirror and in the viewfinder, like auburn kind of. All right, then the other side, I'll zoom you through my other one. All right, brows are done. Then she's going with a deluxe kabuki brush. I'm just going to go in with my Besame blush brush and a light apricot up high above the contour line. So I'm going to use Tipsy by Tarte. Just a little bit. This is not too, looks a lot more neon in the hand than it is on. But it is also a nice complement to the orange and green are nice together, nice colors together. The sun's coming out in front of me. I wonder if you can see, everything seems to be brightening up as I apply the apricot to the apples of my cheeks. Then we are applying a creamy white pencil to the inner rim to open the eyes up. So I'm going to go in with my OCC lip pencil in Fethered. I'll speed you through this. And it's interesting because in the first one that I did, it specifically said to use a non-waterproof liner. I'm not sure why I'm using a regular liner now, but I've been looking more into the book and I'm not seeing why waterproof versus not waterproof, but I'll keep looking into it. And then lastly, we're finishing with a lip color that matches our lip color, my lip color. I'm going to go in with Kat Von D Lovecraft. I'll dim you out. Last thing I'll do, and this is not in the instructions, I just feel like I'm a little too luminous. It's just not my preference. So I'm gonna go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder, just to tone that down a little bit. And there are some extra steps in this book. There are some looks that have just the basic look and then other looks that have these extra things. And the extra things here are to apply false lashes, which I'm not going to do, to apply a dark brown liner on the inner rim, which I'm not going to do, and to apply a dark berry lip, which I'm also not going to do because that would be too similar to what I normally do. So I'm done with this, and this is pretty. I think if I were to do it again, I would start with a color that is lighter than Enchanted Forest by Makeup Geek, just to kind of make the gradient start somewhere lighter than where it did. But I'm pleased with it, and I am, again, really happy to have a reason to move outside of my comfort zone and use colors. And yeah, the fact that I'm not moving on to using a dark berry lip is a big deal. So thank you so much for watching. This is really, really fun. I'll do this again very soon, and I hope that you'll come watch. A lot to do in the world and a lot to do on YouTube, and I really appreciate the time I'm giving you. I don't know, making kitten biscuits in the air. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again very soon. I'm a giant dork. Bye.